Hello, St Andrews. Hope you all had a lovely weekend. Welcome back and happy 1st of March. Happy St David's Day. Pinch punch, 1st of the month, no returns. March is one of my favourite months of all. It's when winter becomes spring, flowers start to bloom, the weather gets a little bit nicer, which means you can spend more time outdoors, which I love. My birthday's in March, so that might be it's one of my favourite months of all. And did you know March is Women's History Month? So this week, our project is going to look at inspirational women. Now, have a little look at this image here that says Women's History Month, and I have hidden 3 copies of this image throughout this video. See if you can spot them all for 3 dojo points. Okay. This week, we are going to focus on being ambitious, capable learners and ethical, informed citizens. And we're going to come back to the strands at the end of the video. You've got 2 main activities on your blended learning menu this week. The first activity, the learning goal, is to research famous women in history and showcase them using Microsoft Sway. Now, I know lots of you have used Sway before on Hub, but if not, or if you want a little bit of a reminder, Miss Davis has you covered. Take a look at her step-by-step guide here. So where it says here in blue and is underlined, click on that word here and it will take you to a video reminder of how to use Sway on your Hub account. And you've got a bronze, silver and gold activity. So you need to choose the difficulty of your task. Have a read of all 3 before you decide. Because actually you might fancy the gold task more than you do the bronze task. The bronze is to choose one famous woman in history and create a biography about her using Sway. Silver is a celebration of your top 3 famous women in history, including things like why are they famous and key events from their life. We would love to see some pictures and videos there as well. And the gold task is also to celebrate your top 3 famous women and why they're famous, but include some pictures, videos, and a game to finish. For example, who am I? Or guess the quote. So gold, you guys get to be the teacher, which sounds super exciting. Your success criteria, you will be researching famous women in history, although who those women are up to you. You will be giving details about them and significant events in their lives. We don't need to know about their brother's auntie's dog. Keep it significant, keep it important. And you will be using Sway on Hub, as I've said. So make sure you check out the video if you're not sure how to do that. Your reflection is 3, 2, 1. So after you've completed the task, can you write down 3 things you've learned, 2 questions or wonderings you still have, and 1 thing as a bit of a target for yourself. The second activity we're now going to discuss in a little bit more detail. Your infinity and beyond, so that's on the last page, is up and away, and it's about Amelia Earhart. And she was the first female aviator, so like a pilot, to fly solo, that means on her own, across the Atlantic Ocean. And she broke all these sorts of wonderful records and set many firsts for women, which was absolutely amazing and unheard of at the time. So your challenge is to design, build and test an aeroplane similar to the one that Amelia Earhart would have flown. Now, if you want to make it really extra hard, which I'll be very impressed with, can you make your plane without using paper? Very interesting. Poblach with that one. Okay, so I'm going to focus on the second activity on the blended learning menu now, which is to describe 1 change you would make for the world with a magic pencil. And this is about an incredible young woman called Malala, who you may have heard of before. She overcame a horrible attack in a country called Pakistan, all because she just wanted to go to school and women were not allowed to attend school. The first thing you need to do is listen to this recording of her book, Malala's Magic Pencil. So make sure you click on that hyperlink and hear Malala's story. It's a beautiful book and it's really, really short. Our wondering for you guys is, if you had a magic pencil, what would you change that would benefit the world? And again, you now need to choose from a bronze, silver or gold activity. So for bronze, your job is to draw a picture and write a short description of your one change for the world. So if you're going to do bronze, I'd like you to come back to this video, come to this point, so about 5.5 minutes, and leave these questions up, or start with these questions before you attempt your bronze challenge. I'd like you to think about, what is your one change going to be? Who would be involved? Why do you want this change to occur? When would you start your change? How would you start this change, and how will it help other people? What steps might be needed to help achieve this change? And I put a couple of ideas for inspiration if you're stuck on your change. It could be about the environment, about schools, children, to do with race or racism, about families, jobs, medicine, homelessness, illness, whatever problem or change you would like to make in the world. So if you're doing the bronze activity, come back to this video and make sure you pause it here, because in your short description, I'd like you to answer all of these questions. And so would your other teachers. If you are going to attempt the silver activity, this asks, who could help you make your change? So the first thing you need to do is decide what your change is going to be, a bit like the bronze activity, and then think about who could help you make that change a reality. It might be, I don't know, the Prime Minister, Mrs. Giles, the Welsh Government, the NHS, a particular charity. Those are some ideas to help you get started. And you need to write a persuasive letter to your chosen person, explaining what your change is about and why you want it to happen. Now, if you click on, when you go to the blended learning menu, click on Persuasive Letter, that's a hyperlink, it's going to take you to this success criteria. So you've got features of a persuasive letter, and it gives you step by step everything you will need to include in your letter. So for example, if you were going to write to Mrs. Giles about a change you would like to see in our school, then make sure you are including all of these success criteria. For example, you need to include the sender's address. You need to have an introduction and some paragraphs and a conclusion. You need to use emotive language. Remember, that's really powerful words and vocabulary. You need to include rhetorical questions. Remember, those are questions that don't need an answer. You might include exaggeration, which is going over the top, and it might make your problem seem like it is life or death. So have a look at that success criteria if you're going to attempt the silver challenge. Finally, the gold challenge. Now, this is probably, I think, the most exciting challenge on this blended learning menu. And it asks you to create a campaign for one change for the world with a magic pencil. The campaign must include an advert for change and a campaign poster. If you click on that word examples, which is blue and underlined, again, it is a link and it will take you to some lovely examples of different campaigns, including adverts and posters, which might help you. So your success criteria is, again, you need to decide what you're going to change and why. You're going to have to describe what the change is, why it is needed, and how it would help others, similarly to the other challenges. But we would like to see posters and videos and adverts, and you can really let your creativity shine with this task. Some examples of real life campaigns then. Perhaps you're thinking, oh, I can't quite remember, what a campaign is. That is when you are trying to make a change and you may get together with a group of like-minded people, and you are going to create resources like signs and posters and adverts and videos to ask and to persuade other people to come around to your point of view. So with this image here, we see the Black Lives Matter movement, which I know lots of you are familiar with, and we may have looked at a little bit in school before, which of course focuses on the problem of racism and how racism could be overcome in our country. So that was the problem that campaign was tackling. I'm sure lots of you have heard of, is it Sir Captain Tom Moore there? And he was a very inspirational 100-year-old man who I believe used to be a captain in the army, who decided that he wanted to campaign to raise more money for the National Health Service, or the NHS, during the coronavirus pandemic. And he did this by walking laps, 100 laps I believe, around his garden before his 100th birthday. Now, he thought this was going to be a small campaign, but oh my goodness, we have all heard of Captain Tom Moore now, because in the end, his campaign went viral because it was so incredible what he was doing, and he raised £32,794,701. Oh my goodness me, that is a lot of money that will help so many people during this pandemic. So that's another example of a recent and real life campaign. Some points I put for you at the bottom then. You could create a campaign poster. And you can create that poster on anything you like, but make sure it's detailed with what changes you want to see with your one change. You could create a video campaign using Canva or iMovie or another similar app, which would be really exciting. Perhaps you could get green screen out, I don't know. Or you could create an advert using something like Adobe Spark, or maybe you could use PowerPoint, or by hand drawing it. That's absolutely fine as well. And your reflection for this task is to write a tweet about your change for the world in 140 letters or less with some hashtags or squad like that. I've just popped a few more examples of some real life campaign posters here. So if you wanted to do a campaign poster or advert, here are some examples in real life that might help you. Top left here, we've got an advert for a campaign about war and about stopping war, showing the before and after of the devastating effects of war, and using a child to really make us feel sympathy and empathy for this country. Top right is an American campaign to get more children reading, which is why it says, today a reader, tomorrow a leader. We've got a nice statistic there, which helps their campaign to encourage children and parents to read more. Bottom left here, we've got a cigarette from a Stop Smoking campaign, which talks about every cigarette you are smoking makes those horrible changes to your body. And we've got this really disgusting image, which the campaign uses on purpose to try and get people to give up smoking, because we all know smoking is very bad for us. Finally, in the bottom right there, we have a very creative poster that tackles the problem of racism, because you have a black man there and it says scared, and then underneath it says you should be, he's a dentist. So it's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek campaign, but it helps you understand the seriousness of racism, and the reason you should be scared of this man is because he's a dentist and not because of the colour of his skin. So those are some examples of real life campaigns. If you've got any more questions about the campaign, please ask your teachers. Okay, at the start I asked you, we talked a little bit about the four purposes. What I'd like you to do now is pause me, have a read of the different strands underneath the ambitious, capable learners, and I want you to have a think about which couple do you think we're focusing on this week. Pause me now. Okay, if you've unpaused me, or pressed play, that means you've had a little bit of a discussion and you've had to think about which strand we are engaging with this week. For me, I think we're definitely going to be undertaking research, and you guys are going to be evaluating what you find. So I've underlined that strand. We're also going to be ethical informed citizens. So I would like you to pause me again now, please. Have a read of these strands to remind yourself and think, what, I don't know, 1 or 2 strands do you think we're engaging with from ethical informed citizens? Pause me now. Okay. If you've unpaused me now, you've had a little think about what 1 or 2 strands we're engaging with this week. The ones I've underlined are we're going to respect the needs and rights of others as a member of a diverse society, because we are focusing on women and inspirational women in the past. And we're going to understand that women are just as equal as men. And I also underlined understanding and considering the impact of your actions when making choices, because that's what your campaign is going to be all about. It's going to be making choices and considering how you could act and put those choices into action. Well, Diane, guys, thank you so much for listening to my video. Just a little note before I go then, a really, really important note. A little bit of a change this week. You now have daily maths and new daily literacy challenges. And instead of on the blended learning menu, we are going to be posting these daily in the activity section on Seesaw, which you can see here. This little guide is on the blended learning menu as well. All you need to do when you log into Seesaw is just click on the light bulb button, which says activities, which is circled in red here, and you will see your daily maths job and your daily literacy job. Just click the add response button to respond. Again, if you've got any questions about that, I'm sure your teachers will go through it in the lives. If not, just feel free to ask. Hopefully, this will actually be really straightforward and maybe make things a little easier. Okay, that's it from me. Have a fantastic week, everybody. Hope to see you all again soon. Da bochie!